The night was cloaked in silence, broken only by the faint hum of rain against the marble windows of the Romano mansion. Don Alberto Romano said, "In this world, trust is a currency, and mine is spent." His glass trembled as thunder rolled beyond the estate walls. From the shadows, unseen eyes watched his every move, waiting for the perfect moment. Michael Romano stepped through the corridor, unaware of the death awaiting his family. Lightning flashed, revealing Lucia Romano's trembling hands gripping the gun beneath her cloak. She whispered, "Forgive me, brother." The silence shattered. A gunshot ripped through the air, echoing across the grand hall. Don Alberto Romano fell, crimson blooming across his chest. His phone slid from his hand, a final message glowing on the screen. "It's done. The king is dead." The rain poured harder as the world shifted, and nothing would ever be the same again. Morning crept through the fractured mansion, light falling upon the aftermath of betrayal. Michael Romano stood beside the lifeless body of Don Alberto Romano, grief locked behind stoic eyes. Officers moved through the hall, snapping photos of blood-stained marble. Lucia Romano remained distant, her face unreadable. Detective Anthony Caruso said, "This wasn't random. This was precision." Michael Romano whispered, "He trusted too many." Outside, the storm had passed, but its echo lingered in every breath. The once mighty Romano Empire now lay in ruins, its foundation cracked by the very blood that built it. In a dim-lit corridor, Michael Romano stared at the bullet hole in the wall, tracing it with trembling fingers. Lucia Romano approached silently, voice trembling as she said, "Well, find who did this." His eyes narrowed. "Will we?" The mansion's silence was oppressive, broken only by faint murmurs from investigators. Every echo reminded him of the shot, of trust shattered in an instant. Outside, dark clouds still hung low, a reminder that peace had fled. In that stillness, Michael Romano knew this was only the beginning of a war born from betrayal. Outside the estate, Anthony Caruso met Michael Romano under gray skies. "Every empire falls," Anthony said, "but yours fell from within." Michael's stare hardened. Family was supposed to mean something. Nearby, Lucia Romano remained near the gates, silent, the cold wind whipping her hair. The police lights painted the marble red and blue, flashing over broken glass. The truth was clear. The Romano name no longer commanded fear. It commanded pity. The storm had cleansed nothing. It only exposed the rot. Night returned heavy and silent. Alone in Don Alberto Romano's study, Michael Romano stared at family portraits lit by flickering candlelight. "He built this empire on loyalty," he whispered, "and loyalty killed him." Lucia Romano's reflection appeared faintly in the glass behind him, unreadable. On the desk lay an envelope marked with their father's seal, unopened. Outside, thunder murmured again in the distance, as if the heavens themselves mourned a legacy lost to betrayal. The city's underbelly whispered rumors of the Romano fall. In a quiet corner of an abandoned church, Michael Romano met Anthony Caruso beneath flickering candles. "Every man who touched my father's empire is being hunted," Michael said, voice low. Anthony replied, "Then find the hand pulling the trigger." Dust drifted through fractured stained glass as their shadows stretched long across the pews. The weight of betrayal lingered in the air, heavy and suffocating. Outside, the bells remained silent, as if even God refused to bear witness to the sins unfolding within those walls. In the dim back room of a shuttered nightclub, Marco De Luca stood silently beside a table scattered with weapons. Michael Romano entered, his footsteps echoing against the tiled floor. "You were loyal to my father," Michael said. Marco's cold gaze met his. "Loyalty is a blade, Michael. It cuts both ways." A heavy silence filled the room, broken only by the hum of old fluorescent lights. They both knew that alliances in their world were fragile, bound by blood, but broken by ambition. Far from the mansion's ruins, Don Alberto Romano's hidden office revealed its secrets. Lucia Romano unlocked the drawer with trembling hands. Inside lay files, coded accounts and names of rival families. Michael Romano watched silently. "He built this empire on deception," Lucia said softly. Michael replied, "Then where his legacy?" The room smelled of old cigars and betrayal. As Lucia placed the files on the desk, lightning flashed through rain-streaked windows, casting brief light upon truths long buried. In a shadowed alley behind the docks, Lucia Romano met a stranger cloaked in darkness. Her breath fogged in the cold air. "The family's breaking," she whispered. The voice from the shadows answered, "Then, let it burn." Her eyes flickered with both fear and resolve. From a distance, Anthony Caruso watched, unseen. The betrayal was no longer speculation, it was breathing. The wind howled across the harbor, carrying whispers of vengeance through the night. Back at the Romano mansion, Isabella Romano knelt before her father's portrait, silent tears falling. Michael Romano entered quietly, pausing at the doorway. "He wasn't perfect," he said, "but he was ours." Isabella whispered, "Then why does it feel like we killed him?" Lucia Romano stood by the window, her reflection fractured by rain. The weight of guilt pressed upon them all, binding their fates tighter than blood ever could. Outside, thunder murmured again, a grim reminder that peace was still far from reach. The night city burned in silence. A rival warehouse exploded across the harbor, sending flames high into the storm-black sky. Michael Romano watched from a rooftop beside Anthony Caruso. "They're retaliating faster than we can breathe," Anthony said. Michael answered, "Then we bleed slower." Sparks drifted like fireflies over the docks, lighting the faces of men who once swore loyalty. In this war of shadows, truth was buried beneath blood. As sirens echoed, Michael knew the empire his father built had turned into a battlefield that devoured its own. Inside a dim back room lit by a single bulb, Michael Romano studied a set of coded ledgers recovered from Don Alberto Romano's office. "He was laundering through 5 families," Michael said. Lucia Romano replied softly, "And one of them turned." Her voice cracked with guilt. The rain outside beat against the window like a ticking clock. In that room, every page turned revealed a truth more poisonous than the last. The betrayal wasn't just against blood, it was born within it. In a crumbling safe house, Anthony Caruso introduced a man with cautious eyes. "Michael, this is who helped me track the coded shipments. His name's Gabriel Santoro." Michael studied him in silence. "We share enemies," Gabriel said. The tension in the room thickened. Lucia Romano lingered by the door, her gaze sharp. For a moment, there was unity born from desperation. But beneath that fragile trust, deceit coiled, waiting to strike when weakness showed. Under flickering lights in an abandoned subway tunnel, Michael Romano confronted Marco DeLuca. "You killed 6 men tonight," Michael said. Marco answered coldly, "They would have killed us tomorrow." The sound of dripping water echoed through darkness. Each step closer felt like walking the edge of loyalty and murder. Michael's hand hovered near his gun, but hesitation revealed something deeper, not fear, but recognition. In Marco's defiance, he saw his father's ghost. Thunder rolled across the sky as Michael Romano stood in Don Alberto Romano's old courtyard, staring at a faded mural of their family crest. Lucia Romano approached quietly. "He said loyalty was strength," she whispered. Michael replied, "And it became our weakness." A gust of wind scattered old rose petals across the stone floor. Beneath the mural, a hidden plaque caught Michael's eye. Carved words read, "Blood is the debt of legacy." In that moment, he realized the betrayal had begun long before any gun was fired. The rain fell relentless upon the old Romano warehouse, where whispers of treachery became truth. Michael Romano stormed inside, the sound of dripping water echoing through empty corridors. Anthony Caruso met his glare. "The drop went bad," Anthony said. "Someone tipped them." Michael's fist clenched. We have rats in our own walls. From the shadows, Lucia Romano stepped forward, eyes weary. Then we cut them out. Her voice trembled under the storm's roar. For every secret they unearthed, another was buried deeper, and trust bled thinner than the rain outside. Inside an abandoned train yard, Marco De Luca knelt before two bound men. They were supposed to deliver weapons, he said. Michael Romano's eyes burned through the gloom. And now their corpses waiting to happen. Marco's silence was answer enough. Lucia Romano watched, arms folded, unease etched across her face. The wind howled through broken train cars, carrying the metallic scent of death. In the law of the syndicate, silence was guilt, and tonight, judgment wore Michael's face. In a smoke-filled backroom, Don Alberto Romano's ledger revealed a name long buried, one that linked the Romano fortune to a rival cartel. Michael Romano stared in disbelief. He was working with them, he said. Lucia Romano's hands shook. Then none of this was about family. Anthony Caruso stepped forward, grim. It never is. The smoke coiled through the dim light, like ghosts reclaiming what was theirs. Every page of that ledger was another nail in the coffin of loyalty. Lucia Romano met secretly with a contact in the old opera house ruins, her breath fogging in the chill. "It's getting out of control," she said. The stranger's reply cut sharp. "Then control it before it consumes you." From the rafters above, Anthony Caruso watched silently, gun drawn. The sound of crumbling plaster echoed through the empty stage. The Empire's secrets had grown louder than its music, and soon every lie would take center stage. At dawn, Michael Romano stood before Don Alberto Romano's gravestone, the city skyline burning orange behind him. Lucia Romano approached slowly, holding an envelope sealed with their father's crest. "He wrote this before he died," she said softly. Michael took it, eyes hollow. "Truth buried by the dead," he murmured, "always finds its way to the living." As sunlight broke through lingering fog, the weight of legacy pressed upon them both. The letter trembled in Michael's hand, an unseen truth waiting to fracture the last of their fate. The storm had cleared, leaving streets slick and reflective. Michael Romano traced a trail of transactions, linking multiple cartels. Each number pointed to a hand within his own family. "This is deeper than we imagined," Anthony Caruso said grimly. Michael's eyes narrowed as Lucia Romano handed him a sealed envelope. "Your brother," she said softly. Michael paused, understanding dawning like a blade. The betrayal was intimate, personal, and complete. Every truth he uncovered cut sharper than bullets, leaving a wound that words could not heal. In a shadowed parking garage, Michael Romano confronted Marco De Luca. "You knew about this, didn't you?" Michael's voice was low and hard. Marco's stoic expression didn't waver. "Loyalty is a mask, Michael. You just didn't see it." The fluorescent lights above flickered as rainwater dripped from the ceiling. Lucia Romano watched from a distant corner, her hands trembling. Each revelation pulled the family tighter into the vortex of betrayal, forcing Michael to question not just enemies, but blood itself. In the dim light of Don Alberto Romano's private study, Michael Romano opened the envelope. The letter revealed the orchestrator of the attacks, and the name was his own sister. Lucia Romano stepped closer, voice breaking. "It was me," she confessed. Michael staggered back, disbelief etched across his face. Anthony Caruso placed a steadying hand on his shoulder. "This changes everything," he said quietly. The room seemed smaller, suffocating with the weight of intimate betrayal. Blood ties had been weaponized, and trust lay in ruins. Michael Romano stormed across the marble hallway of the mansion ruins, confronting Lucia Romano. "Why betray blood?" he demanded. Lucia's voice shook. "I did it for control, for survival, for the empire he never protected." Every word felt like a strike. Anthony Caruso lingered in the shadows, eyes sharp. The chandeliers swayed in the gusting wind from shattered windows. Michael realized that the family he thought he knew had fractured irreparably. Loyalty was gone, replaced by fear and vengeance. Lightning flashed across the mansion's rooftop as Michael Romano faced his sister, Lucia Romano, one last time. "It doesn't end here," he said, voice heavy. She lowered her gaze, tears streaming. Anthony Caruso's figure loomed behind, steady and silent. The empire of deception had revealed its final act, and Michael understood that blood was both the weapon and the wound. As rain poured and the night screamed, the cost of betrayal became painfully clear. There was no turning back, only reckoning. The isolated estate loomed against the moonlight, cold and silent, except for the distant howl of wind. Michael Romano approached cautiously, every step measured. Anthony Caruso shadowed him, eyes scanning the perimeter. "This is it," Michael whispered, feeling the weight of his father's legacy pressing down. Lucia Romano emerged from the shadows, her expression unreadable. "No turning back now," she said. The estate gates creaked as they pushed through, the stage set for the reckoning. Every heartbeat echoed the anticipation of confrontation. Inside the main hall, the chandelier swung slightly, disturbed by the cold draft of broken windows. Michael Romano confronted Marco De Luca first. "All these years, what did it mean?" he asked. Marco's face remained stoic. "Survival, Michael, nothing more." Outside, rain lashed against the tall glass panes, the sound deafening. Anthony Caruso's hand rested near his gun, tension radiating. Every corner seemed alive with whispers of the past, and the estate's silence amplified the weight of every word. The heart of the estate revealed the final trap. Michael Romano faced his sister, Lucia Romano. "It ends tonight," he said, voice low and resolute. Lucia's eyes glistened with guilt and defiance. "It ends the way it must," she replied. Lightning struck outside, illuminating the grand hall and revealing traces of past violence. Anthony Caruso remained silent, but his gaze never wavered. In that instant, every betrayal, every secret, and every choice collided into a single inescapable confrontation. Steel met marble in sudden chaos. Marco De Luca lunged toward Michael Romano, but he parried swiftly. Lucia Romano stumbled back, gun in hand, conflicted. Anthony Caruso fired warning shots into the ceiling. Every movement was a test of endurance and morality. The echoes of Don Alberto Romano's empire seemed to haunt every step. Michael's mind raced. Every action weighed against the lives he might save or destroy. Tonight, choices were final, and mistakes would be fatal. Finally, Michael Romano and Lucia Romano stood alone, breath ragged, the estate silent once more. "It could have been different," Michael whispered. Lucia lowered her gun, tears streaking her face. "I only wanted to protect what was ours," she said. Anthony Caruso watched from the shadows, alert but silent. The empire had been tested, every lie and loyalty weighed. Outside, the storm cleared, leaving silence and a dawn that promised both revelation and ruin. The ultimate choice loomed, revenge or justice. Dawn broke over the ruined estate, casting pale light on shattered marble and toppled furniture. Michael Romano walked through the halls, blood and memories staining every step. Down. Lucia Romano trailed silently, her gaze haunted by the choices she had made. Anthony Caruso surveyed the wreckage, eyes calculating the remnants of order. Each corner whispered the echoes of the empire that had been, the walls heavy with secrets. The Romano name lingered like smoke, impossible to grasp, yet impossible to forget. Survival had come, but at a cost that weighed heavier than grief itself. Outside, rain had ceased, but puddles reflected the gray sky. Michael Romano paused at the gate, his silhouette framed against the fading storm. Lucia Romano knelt to lift remnants of their father's crest from the wet grass. "We can rebuild," she murmured, but the words felt hollow. Anthony Caruso stepped forward, glancing at the horizon. The silence of the city pressed down, reminding them that law and chaos had always danced together. Each breath carried the weight of a family broken and a world forever changed. In the private study, Michael Romano sifted through the remaining ledgers and photographs, each page a reminder of choices, loyalty, and betrayal. Lucia Romano's reflection appeared faintly in the window, eyes red-rimmed but steadfast. Anthony Caruso placed a hand on the desk, silent support. The legacy of Don Alberto Romano hung heavily over them, a mix of pride, guilt, and shattered ambition. Outside, sunlight fought through the clouds, casting long shadows that mirrored the fractured lives within. At the edge of the estate garden, Isabella Romano knelt beside a freshly planted rose, her fingers brushing soil over the roots. Michael Romano approached, hesitant but composed. "It's fragile," he said softly. "Like everything we've survived." Lucia Romano watched from nearby, coat trailing in dew-damp grass, her gaze distant. Anthony Caruso stood further back, scanning surroundings but at ease. In that quiet moment, the remnants of family, loyalty, and love converged, delicate yet unbroken, offering the smallest sliver of hope amidst ruin. As the sun rose fully, Michael Romano walked away from the estate gates, eyes empty yet resolute. Lucia Romano remained behind, silent and sorrowful. Anthony Caruso followed a few steps back, vigilant but understanding. The ruins of empire stretched behind them, a testament to power, betrayal, and survival. Somewhere in the distance, a phone rang faintly, an echo of unfinished business. The world was quiet now, but Michael knew the war was only paused. Every step carried both victory and the haunting price it demanded.